Hey everybody, let's get tying the Survive Entry Chewy's Cyborg shrimp. The Cyborg shrimp uses two 4 millimeter tungsten beads in the size 4 and 2. You can use 3.5 millimeter tungsten beads in a size 6. We're going to tie a size 6 with the 3.5 millimeters. This ingenious design has these tungsten beads hidden underneath the body of the shrimp, and this is a faster diving shrimp than our halo shrimp. The halo's for that sight casting and really shallow, skinny water or dock lights, where the Cyborg shrimp is your all-around searching pattern. Great for, let's say, 20 inches of water on up to 5 feet of water, and you can tie different size beads depending how fast you want it to sink. Great all-around pattern for the flats. Let's get going on this. All right, to get started, we're going to use a Gamakatsu SL11 3H hook, a good stout hook. We're going to do this in a size 6. So let's put that baby in our vise. We're using olive 140 UTC thread in 140. Get that started right up at the eye and then work that back and put a nice thread base. Go ahead and trim off the tag. And then, as in all Chewy's Survive Entry flies, we start by putting in the weight first. So go ahead and take your 021 mono, all right, and let's cut ourselves a piece off. And you only need, let's say, about an inch or two, not much. Give yourself a nice flat little tie-in point to reduce bulk. And put that just behind the eye. Whoops, I dropped that one. Sorry about that, guys. See? Let's go ahead and flatten this one again. Okay, let's tie that in right behind the eye of the hook. And now let's thread on our two 3.5 millimeter beads. They have convex and concave surfaces. I like to put the convex or round side forward on the first bead. Put a couple thread wraps behind it. And now let's grab our second 3.5 millimeter. Now keep in mind you have a lot. And this one I put the concave section forward to give a little gap in between the two. And then wrap it down. Keep in mind you can use various size beads. You can mix beads on a particular fly. So I could do a 2.5 and a 3.5 to come up with different weight combinations for different depths of water and fishing. I flattened that with my pliers to taper this. And now what we'll do is we're going to do some X-wraps, okay, on each of these beads to lock them in place. Just going to quickly do that. These are securely and permanently mounted to the bottom of that hook. You can see how quickly they will reverse this hook, flip it upside down. All right, let's run our thread base back to the rear and down the bend of the hook just a little bit. Now, typically my pattern asks for craft fur, okay, in like golden olive, okay, with Arctic fox then after it. But that's because a lot of times you can't get Arctic fox long enough. It just so happens Hairline sent me the latest batch, and this is very long, so I can remove or not do the craft fur section that comes in some of the recipes. Look how long this particular one is. All right, in fact, it's almost too long. I'm going to pull some of these long hairs out. It's just too long for this particular shrimp pattern. All right, that looks pretty darn good for a size 6. Might be a little beefy, so I'm going to pull a little under fur out. Less is better a lot of times. Okay, that looks pretty darn good. Put that right up on top and run this right down the shank and to the bend of the hook a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go up actually down the bend just a little bit more. That looks pretty darn good. Let's go ahead and cut that off. Okay. Right after your Arctic fox here, we're going to go ahead and put in our Chacon's barred micro crusher legs. Okay, this is black barred clear, and get yourself just one leg is all you're going to need. Cut that out, and let's go ahead and just tie it in right in the middle and fold that and put one on each side of the Arctic fox. Whoops. Let's get them lined up properly. There you go. Very good. Okay, and run that right down to your base of your Arctic fox. And we want these about the length, give or take, of our wing. All right, we're going to go ahead and put in some gray ghost crystal flash, just one piece of this. And again, we're going to tie that in at the midway point of the crystal flash, bring it on top, and split it right in half. So you have one piece of crystal flash on each side of the wing or the tail, and clip that to length as well. All right, moving along. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do some of this fine black barred marabou, okay? Really fine stuff, really great material. We don't need a lot of this. This is just to add a little bit of life and antennae in there. So you can come in here and just pick out maybe about, 6 or 8 pieces. Doesn't take a lot, like that's all it needs right there. And go ahead and tie that right in to that. Okay. Now I don't want that too long. This one here was a little bit long for my taste, so let's adjust that just a smidge. I want that a little bit shorter than the wing, like so. Okay, very good. All right, now we're going to go ahead and top it with a little bit. We're going to go ahead and put our pearl, I should say, in our mylar cord. This is dyed chartreuse, and we're going to have that extend over, maybe about, a quarter of an inch or so, and run that right down over that tail assembly. And again, the excess you can cut on an angle to taper in. And then once you have that in place, you can tease it out with your scissors. And then if you want, you can give a little bit of taper by just making the ends a little random. Okay, great. Now we're going to top that off with just a little bit of Arctic Fox. So you'll cut not too much again. And this one here, we don't need a lot of the longer guard hairs, so you can pull them out. And we're just going to go ahead, pull out a little underfluff. We want it too full. And that's going to be a nice little guard, if you will, a bottom to that wing. And right up to that. Beautiful. And let's taper that as well. And run that right up to our beads. All right, it's time to do our eyes. Okay, the eyes really make it. So you may have seen me make these eyes in another Survive Entry series, but basically cut some 019 mono. And what I like to do is cut one end on a slight taper so I can get the eye in. On the other side, let's go ahead and burn a little bit of end on it. Let's color that burnt end with a black Sharpie or any kind of artist's marker. That'll be our black pupil. All right, and then that nice tapered end, angled end, go ahead and feed a red extra small glass ruby bead on there, glass bead. And then you're going to use your UV glue, and we're going to go ahead and put some UV on that, spreading it all around the bead, and you're going to get it in front end on the end of it. Just touch it all around. Make sure you get good coverage, spinning it around. You can buy these pre-made if you want, but hey, we're fly tying here, right? Let's be totally creative and make it all ourselves. Okay, that's pretty good. Spin it around high volume with your finger like that, and then use your black light. And let's harden that up. Oh, these eyes look so beautiful when you do this. So great. Okay, about 20 seconds is all you need. All right, now I'm going to take my flat, smooth pliers, and I'm going to go ahead and flatten where I'm going to tie that into the hook, and then cut it to length, the excess. It's still a little long. And now let's go ahead and tie in this eye. And I go one more flat spot there, up to about a 3/8 of an inch. All right, we want that to stick out the back of the bend of the hook. So let's lash that in on this side and run it down that tail. And then once you get it down there, let's crease that, bend it out to flare that eye out. And you can see how beautiful that eye is. Let's go ahead. I have another one pre-made here that I did. Let's go ahead and flatten that out. Clip that. And let's go ahead and tie that baby in on the other side. Make sure your length is the same on these eyes. That's the key part. So you're happy. I don't know if the fish cares too much, but at least you want to be proud of your fly. And right up to the the Arctic fox and tail assembly and increase that as well. And you can see, look at the beautiful eyes we have on that. It's really coming together now. Again, you're better off sparse than too bulky and too much material. All right, let's do a nice little collar on this. We're using EP, makes some beautiful brushes. This is the EP Foxy brush in pale olive. And so we're going to go ahead and do a couple turns just to finish off this tail assembly. Tie in that wire right up to where we left off. Oh boy. So, well, you can tell this video is real life. Those wire brushes, everybody, have a very sharp end where you cut them off. And so a lot of times you will break your thread on them. And I apologize for that, but that's real world. So no worries. You're watching this. Umpqua Signature Tying Sessions. We're real world here. So there you go. You're seeing it live. All right, let's go ahead and careful with that wire end when you get near that end. Okay, that's tied in. Let's do a half hitch. Okay, and let's get our EP finger brush. And let's go ahead and we don't want to do too many turns here. It's important to use that finger brush every turn. We're probably just going to do 2 full turns here as a back collar. Look how beautiful that looks. All right, we're done. Let's go ahead and tie this off. And all we got to do is our body now. All right, use some dikes to cut it off, some snips. Okay, and then make sure you bury that wire in there. Okay. You can see how pretty that body is, the eyes, everything's really shaping together nicely. Now let's just do the body of this. There's 2 materials in this body. Okay, we have a tarantula brush. Okay, actually it's a woolly critter brush. This is woolly critter, 1/2 inch wide. And this is the woolly critter in the light grass, okay, is what they call it. I have just enough from a brush here prior that I'm going to tie in. Let's tie that baby in. Done. And now we're going to use a shrimp dub brush, okay, and we're doing this in light olive. Let's pull one of these babies out. I got a piece here left over, and let's tie that baby in. Okay. Now, watch that wire end. It might get me again. Okay, let's advance our thread forward, do a 1/2 hitch up front, and we're pretty much now just going to wrap these brushes forward. Now, first brush that goes forward is our shrimp dub. You want to go ahead and make this fairly, spread out. We're not going to overdo it. Notice we went right in between those beads, and every turn you're stroking it back because you don't want to wrap over the material itself. So there we go. That looks pretty darn good, right up to not crowding us too much. We only have 1 more brush to bring forward, so you want to go ahead and leave yourself enough room for that second brush. And let's clip that off. Now you'll notice this shrimp dub brush is a little too big. I'm going to do another 1/2 hitch there. It's a little too, the diameter is a little too big. So tease this all out. Okay, that's where a rotary vise is so handy. And I want you to trim your overall shrimp diameter right now before we bring the woolly critter brush forward, because the woolly critter has rubber legs, and that's really why we're doing it. It has a little more density to it and then the rubber legs. So we needed 2 different brushes. They don't make 1 brush that'll do it all, but no problem. We can do with 2 brushes. I'm going to trim that right up to my Arctic Fox brush. And you can see we're getting that nice shrimp shape right now to this fly. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and bring our woolly critter brush forward. This guy here, what you want to do with your brush, you want to tease the other fibers upwards as you bring this brush forward. Notice this brush is a little darker too, and it makes little zebra almost stripes in your olive grass shrimp. And boy, those stripes, believe it or not, really show up in the water. It adds contrast and a little bit of life to it. I'm spreading those wraps. Okay, they're not right shoulder to shoulder, so I can get that zebra look to it. And then look at this, I got the exact amount. That's why you save materials at the end. You can always get another fly out of them. Okay, right to the end there. And let's tie that off. You could use a a plier here to hold that, but oh well, I'm old school and I just did it by hand. Remember Lee Wolf used to tie flies all by hand. God, I remember that. Anyway, let's pull all that back. Let's trim off this wire end here. Let's bury that with our fingernail. And let's go ahead and do our head. The head is pretty simple here, nothing too big, elaborate. And let's go ahead, making sure you don't catch any rubber legs. Do about a 4 or 5 turn whip finish, pinch it down. And then, yeah, I usually do a second one because these redfish and snook eat this, redfish eat this, everything. Trout eat this fly. All right, let's do a nice little tease here with our wire brush, making sure you really get out all those trapped fibers of that shrimp dub brush, and you can see the barring and the rubber legs look incredible. Boy, oh boy. That is gorgeous. Okay, everybody, that is your Cyborg shrimp. A lot of life, a lot of movement. It looks incredible in the water. And you can see the red eyes, and look at those 2 4mm tungsten beads in the silent entry series. So those are those jig bomb beads. That's the equivalent weight of a medium lead dumbbell hidden inside the body of this shrimp pattern. That is Chewy's Cyborg shrimp, a killer pattern to add to your Halo shrimp, part of our Survive entry series. Hey, thanks for watching and good tying.